The Bible destroys Sam Harris in about 5 minutes. I don't know, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. Sam's quote mixes the documents of the Muslim Quran in a culture of 500 AD with the documents of the New Testament, and that culture is from 30 to 90 AD. These cultures are about 400 years apart. Then Sam conflates these two documents with the documents of the Jewish Old Testament, whose culture existed 2,000 years before the Muslim culture. In my opinion, Sam has created a confused misinterpretation of the Mosaic Law. Sam also uses today's words, slave and slavery, and claims that the ancient Mosaic Law condones slavery, when in actuality the Mosaic Law forbids these forms of oppression in Israel. So, how do we solve Sam's misinformation problem? First, in today's culture, we have the words slave and slavery. These words embody the following definition: forms of oppression which employ ruthless, violent, life-threatening poverty and terrifying tactics that force strangers, or immigrants, and servants from their own pursuits of happiness into violent and terrifying forced labor. Please note, this is my own definition, which it is, but here is Webster's definition. A slave, someone captured, sold, or born into chattel slavery. The first question is, can we find in the Mosaic Law comparative words and descriptions which embody similar definitions as today's words of slavery and slave? Fortunately, yes, we have a part of that answer. The book of Exodus 3:7 provides a description of behaviors that define and match perfectly with our current definition of the word slave in today's culture. We find oppressive behaviors, which are forced poverty, forced labor, which are managed by life-threatening, terrifying tactics employed by Egypt's taskmasters to oppress the Israelites. Next, the Mosaic Law begins by defining these behaviors as unacceptable. Then, the behaviors are declared unlawful by the Mosaic Law. Also, the Mosaic Law defines the Israelite people in their land. Then, it defines migrants as a people who chose to move to the land of Israel for the sake of prosperity as strangers, sojourners, passer-throughs in the land of Israel. In addition, the Mosaic Law forbids the Israelite people to oppress and afflict on any stranger any form of oppression, which includes the following: forced poverty, forced labor, and any form of management through life-threatening, terrifying tactics as were employed by Egypt's taskmasters to oppress the Israelites. We also see the Mosaic Law demands the Israelite people to remember they were strangers in Egypt, and Egypt oppressed them in these ways, and they were not to behave in like fashion. But here is the absolute kicker. The Mosaic Law forces the Israelite people to love the stranger as themselves. See Leviticus 19:34 and Deuteronomy 10:19. How do you love the stranger if you're destroying their life? That's really the question. You can't. Okay, moving on. Therefore, these oppressions, tactics, and forms of management to overthrow the stranger's pursuits of happiness into a violent and terrified forced labor were absolutely forbidden. See Joshua 9:1 through 27, the first servant precedent. Okay. The book of Joshua, chapter 9, 1 through 27, provides the world with the very first documented anti-slavery precedent. There you go, Sammy, baby. Let's move on. Finally, Sam, can't let this one go. God expects you to keep slaves. This is your comment. God expects you to keep slaves, and he told you how to do it. Don't knock their eyes and teeth out. That's what you said, okay? The Mosaic Law states to set free a servant who loses an eye or tooth for the sake of the tooth or the eye. So, Sam, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. You're very wrong. Religion is not your line of work. Try something else. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye-bye. We're done.